Alam nyo, one of the biggest mistakes of many people, ng marami nating mga kababayan dito sa Canada, na sometimes they think that once they reach retirement age, once CPP and OAS start coming in, everything will be okay. So parang iniisip ng iba na okay lang kasi may CPP naman, okay lang kasi may OAS naman pagdating ng panahon. Basta umabot lang ako ng retirement age, makakahinga na, pwede nang magpahinga. But the truth is, having retirement income and having enough retirement income are not the same thing. And that is where many people get shocked. Kasi when you are still working, retirement still feels far away. Kasi habang may sweldo ka pa, habang nakakabayad ka pa ng bills, habang umaandar pa na normal ang buhay natin, madaling isipin na pagdating ng retirement, baka sakto lang, baka kakayanin, baka enough na. Pero pag andyan na mismo, pag wala ka ng trabaho, pag hindi ka na pwedeng humataw na kagaya ng dati, pag pension na lang ang pumapasok na income para sa'yo, that is where the real question begins. And that is what we're going to talk about today. Because for some people, the answer might be yes. But for many others, the answer is much harder and much more uncomfortable than they want to admit. Pero hindi ibig sabihin nito na hopeless na. Hindi ibig sabihin na tapos na tayo. Tapos ka na. In fact, as a matter of fact, the earlier you understand this, the more power you still have. Kasi mas okay nang ma-realize mo ang totoo habang may oras ka pa para mag-adjust. Kaysa ma-realize mo lang na kapag retire ka na at saka mo mararamdaman kung gaano kalaki ang kulang. So let us talk about it honestly. No sugarcoating, no false comfort. Yung honest to goodness, real talk lang. I want to talk about 4 factors that we can consider. Okay, factor number 1. How much are you really getting? So pag-usapan natin yan. The first, reality check. Because a lot of people talk about CPP and OAS and as if everything gets the same amount. Pero hindi ganon. Not everyone gets maximum CPP. Not everyone gets a big monthly amount. And that is where confusion starts. Kasi a lot of people hear numbers online or from friends or from comments and they think, okay, ganyan din siguro ang makukuha ko. But CPP depends on your actual work history, your contributions, how long you work, and how much you earned. And even when you decide to take it. So, already doon pa lang, hindi na pwedeng generic ang tingin mo. Then you have also the OAS, which is different from CPP. Kasi OAS is more about your years of residence in Canada. And again, not everybody fully understands that part. So, ang unang tanong talaga dito is not, may CPP at OAS ba ako? But the real first question is, magkano talaga ang papasok sa akin buwan-buwan? Kasi, sometimes the problem is not that you have nothing. The problem is that what you have is smaller than what you have imagined. At dyan masakit ang reality. Kasi kapag nasa isip mo, may pension naman ako, that sounds comforting. But when the actual money arrives, that is when comfort becomes calculation. Kasi siyempre biglang lahat may presyo. And may pressure din. Siyempre pag kukuha ng groceries, utilities, transportation, medication, insurance, unexpected expenses, puro gastos lahat yan. And then you realize, wait a minute, this is not a lot of money. Yung pension na natatanggap mo, compare sa expenses mo. So this is the part many people do not prepare themselves for emotionally. So the gap between meron akong pension and sapat ba talaga ito, those are two different things. And many retirees, marami tayong mga kababayan, or near retirees, do not struggle because they have zero income. They struggle because the income they counted on does not match the life that they are actually living. So before anything else, let us be honest. So let us not use fantasy numbers. Do not use maximum examples unless it is truly applied to you. So do not use hope as your calculator. Use your real number. Kasi retirement planning starts not with what sounds nice, but what with is true. Factor number 2. What kind of life are you expecting in Canada? So pag-usapan naman natin yung pangalawang factor. And this is very important kasi sometimes when people ask, what they really mean is, can I survive? But survival and peace are not the same thing. Survival means basta lang makaraos, pero laging nag-aalala. Peace means may breathing room, may konting dignity, may konting choice, kahit minsan nagigipit, hindi laging kinakabahan sa susunod na bill. And that difference matters. Kasi one person can say, yes, enough na sa akin ang CPP at OAS, and another person can says, no, imposible yan. And both can be telling the truth at the same time. Why? Bakit? Because the answer depends on the kind of life you are carrying into retirement. Kung anong klaseng lifestyle ang iyong ipamumuhay. Do you own your home? Or are you still renting? Bayad na ba yung mortgage or may monthly payments ka pa rin? Are you single or you have your significant other like husband or wife? Meron ka pa bang utang? Do you still help children? Meron ka pang mga anak na pinag-aaral? Do you still send money? Do you still carry family obligations? And then, do you expect a very simple life? Or are you trying to maintain the same lifestyle you had while working? So this is where many people get blindsided. Kasi akala nila retirement is just about age. Well, as a matter of fact, retirement is also about other baggages. Ano ang dala-dala mo pagpasok mo sa retirement? Because two people can receive the same pension amount, but one feels okay and the other feels trapped. So that is why I always say, this is not just about a money question. So hindi lang ito basta-basta pera. It is a lifestyle question. It is a reality question. It is a priority question because some people can live simply debt-free. Wala nang utang. Quiet life, also known as simple life, small needs, very disciplined. Then from them, CPP and OAS might be enough to maintain a modest life. But for others, especially here in Canada, especially if housing costs are high, especially if they are still carrying obligations, the same amount can feel very small. At dito pumapasok ang masakit na realization. Sometimes the problem is not that you failed. Sometimes the problem is that the life you built is too expensive to be carried by a small retirement income. And that is a very hard truth. Because it means retirement is not just about stopping work. It is about whether the life you built can still stand after the work is gone. Factor number 3. What expenses do people forget? This is where retirement plans usually get humbled. Because on paper, the numbers can look okay. Sa papel, pwedeng magmukhang manageable. But the realities of life, real life is not lived on paper. Real life is lived month after month, bills after bills, and then surprise after surprise. And this is where many people underestimate retirement. They count the obvious things: food, housing, basic bills. But they forget the expenses that quietly eat away at whatever pension is coming in. So for example, many people forget healthcare related costs. They're not always fully covered the way they imagine. Many forget medication, dental care, vision care, hearing care, mobility-related needs as they get older. Many forget transportation. Even if you are not driving as much, there is still gas, insurance, maintenance, public transport, rides, unexpected travel. Many forget household repairs. Things break, appliances fail. Home maintenance does not stop just because you retired. Many forget inflation. This one is huge. Because what feels manageable today may not feel manageable several years from now. And then there is something deeper: family pressure. This is one big in our culture. Sometimes retirees are not just paying for themselves. Sometimes they are still helping children in their education, helping relatives, supporting family back home, giving money when emergencies happen, contributing when someone needs help. And these things, kahit hindi mo sila officially nilalagay sa budget mo, they are there, they are real. Very real. And that is why some people look okay from the outside, but inside, they are stretched. That is why someone can say, I have CPP, I have OAS, but still feel no peace. Because the issue is not just income. The issue is saan napupunta ang pera, ano ang humihila pababa buwan-buwan. Ano ang mga gastos na hindi mo pinapansin or hindi mo napapansin. That is why many retirement plans fail quickly, quietly. Not because of one giant disaster, but because of many small realities that never stop. A little here, a little there, a little emergency, a little support, a little inflation, a little repair, a little medicine. And then before you know it, the pension that look okay suddenly feels very tight. You cannot stop at income. You must also respect expenses. Because sometimes the truth about retirement is not found in what comes in, but it is found in what keeps going out. Factor number 4. If it's not enough, what can you still do? Now, this is where I want to shift the conversation. Because this video is not meant to make people feel defeated. Hindi ito para ibagsak ang sino mang nakakapanood ng video na to. Para panghinaan ng loob. Hindi para sabihin sa'yo na wala ng pag-asa. This is about waking up and not giving up. Because if after looking at the numbers, after looking at your lifestyle, after looking at your real expenses, you realize that CPP and OAS alone may not be enough, the question becomes, What can you still do while there is still time? And the answer, first, you can stop guessing and start calculating honestly. That alone is powerful. A lot of people stay anxious, but they stay vague. General feelings, general hopes, general assumptions, but clarity reduces fear. So once you see your real numbers, you can make real decisions. Second, you can start adjusting your lifestyle before retirement, not after. So this is very important because if you wait until retirement to suddenly lower your expenses, then you might be a little too late. It is much better to begin simplifying early while you still have income, while you still have flexibility, while changes are easier to absorb. Third, you can strengthen whatever other support you still have. Maybe that means saving more intentionally. Maybe that means building your TFSA. Maybe that means being more disciplined with debt. Maybe that means reducing unnecessary expenses now. Maybe that means not upgrading your lifestyle every time your income improves. And then fourth, for some people, it may mean rethinking timing. Maybe taking CPP later makes more sense. Maybe working a little bit longer helps. Or maybe part-time income in retirement can make a real difference. Maybe the answer is not full stop, but softer landing. And yes, for some people, it may also mean rethinking where and how they want to live. That is not a defeat. That is a strategy. Because the goal is not pride. The goal is stability, dignity. The goal is not just to retire, but to retire without constant fear. And I think that matters because many people spend years dreaming retirement as if it is one magical finish line. But retirement is not magic. It is math, lifestyle, timing, and honesty. So if the math is weak, the lifestyle is heavy, and the planning is vague, then retirement can become stressful instead of peaceful. But if you face it now, if you make adjustments now, if you simplify now, if you plan now, then even if everything is not perfect, you still give yourself a better chance. And that is what hope should look like, not fake comfort. Not pretending everything will be okay, but knowing that while you still have time, you still have choices. So, can you really retire in Canada with CPP and OAS alone? For some people, yes, if their lifestyle is simple, if they are debt-free, if housing is under control, if expectations are modest, if expenses are disciplined, then yes, it may be enough to live a basic and quiet retirement. But for many others, especially those carrying rent, mortgages, family obligations, debt, or a higher cost of living, CPP and OAS alone may not bring comfort. It may bring income, yes, but not necessarily peace. And I think that is the hard truth people need to hear. Because the worst place to discover that your retirement income is not enough is when after work is already gone. That's why always remember that retirement is not just about having CPP and OAS. It is about whether that income can still protect your dignity when your working years are over. And the earlier you face that truth, the better chance you still have to do something about it.